Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Speed Street Podcast. We are excited this week. Great show ahead of us. We are looking forward to an interview with my teammate, Sting Ray Rob. We leaked it, the excitement about it last week. We said, hey, we're going to interview Stingray. We might have even leaked it before that. But very excited about this one, my teammate. We also, this is a special one. We are holding it a couple hours in the morning, maybe not quite as early in the morning. Sorry for those who like to listen to this on the way to work. We usually release it very early on a Wednesday morning. But we're going to have to hold it a little bit because this is a special paint scheme reveal episode on a Wednesday. And our paint schemes are in the world now. Feel free to go out into the interwebs. There are photos all across our social media platforms of our first paint scheme reveal. I believe that there will be multiple paint schemes. We asked Stingray about this. I don't know if there's going to be more paint schemes. Not sure. Don't know. But I for certainly know that there will be more paint schemes for my car because we have, multiple partnerships that we are working on for this program, and excited about those partnerships ahead of us. So lots going on, but of course there is a main paint scheme that we are pumped about to reveal today. So I have sent these paint schemes to Bobby, as well, our producer Bobby, which we can run right now. Bobby, feel free to throw those up on the YouTube, and feel free, if you're on the web, just go check them out. They're out there.
Yeah.
So pumped beautiful about that. I'm obviously the number 78 car, which was announced already. Stingray in the 77. And you know what? A different look on the cars this year. A little bit more white and gray for me, and more green for Stingray. Now, I obviously love black and green. Those are my colors for forever in my life. But more green on the Stingray wagon and more gray on my fire suit and on my car for now. But pumped about that. I love the look of the car. You know what? I had no idea what this even looked like, honestly, until about last week. Didn't know a single bit about the car. I actually saw a different car pre-Christmas that looked different than this one. But hey, I'm excited.
I was going to say,
what do you think, Chase? I sent you the picture. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I was getting
ahead of myself. You had a wonderful text. You had a wonderful text to me.
I mean, there was definitely a bleep in that text because these cars are sexy. Okay, the white, and I think it was I think you said it was Stingray's car. The white that's on this thing, it makes this car pop in a way that I don't think I've seen, an IndyCar or a Dallara pop before. It definitely has futuristic feels to it. We already know that your team is one of the top innovators. I think it was Roman last year had that bar in his car, the digital bar.
Yeah, the digital sponsorship. Yeah, on the on the roll hoop there, or not the roll hoop. Sorry, the halo. I don't know if that's going to be on our car again this year, but yeah, this team has certainly tried to bring the technology to the forefront.
Well, that's exactly what you see whenever you look at these cars. So I personally love that, and I just love seeing new paints on cars.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really bad about getting the livery thing messed up, so I'm just going to stick to
all
paint.
Right. Paint scheme. Yeah, we'll go paint schemes, liveries, paint schemes. Who knows? Vinyl wraps, whatever it is.
Yeah, some wrap. Yeah, a little bit of wrap there.
So anyway, our cars are out there now. That is the point of this episode, really. But also just excited to talk a little bit about a few other news items. Content Day was last week. Very long days, 2 days. Some drivers did it on a Tuesday. Some drivers did it on a Wednesday. We were recording a show on a Tuesday, and we had a show that came out on the Wednesday. Honestly, I love last week's show. I thought with Ryan McGee from ESPN, I mean, great things to say. Even thankfully, the Pat McAfee show, he put our clip, Chase, that you put out there. He put that on his Instagram story. He reposted that. That was really cool of Pat. Big fan of Pat and his group over there.
We love Pat. Big
Pat's done a lot for me. Pat still to this day he is one of the only people that's ever written me that large of a personal check to help fund my race at the Indy 500 or any race. Pat wrote Dale Coyne a $250,000 check to be the sponsor of my Indy 500 car in 2016 at the 100th running.
Wow.
And there are and this is before he's doing $100 million deals and all these massive deals with ESPN and streaming and all kinds of stuff.
So he's fresh off the punting, man.
Yeah, I mean, he was still playing football at the time, I think.
Yeah.
So, Pat's heart, very large. Pat has been very, very kind to me, and still to this day, I don't think I'll ever be able to repay him for that type of generosity. And I still try to find every single day people to be able to, want to help out at that level. And it was incredible that he was able to do that. And, Pat was doing well. He was playing football, but he didn't have the money that he has now or the money that these people that I almost interact with every week, every day to try to, hey, how do we figure out, the best possible sponsorship pitch, the best partnership pitch. But Pat was like, hey, I'm going to do this, and we're going to create this company and essentially start. The Pat McAfee show came soon after that, and look, that was all his brain, his incredibly smart group of people and friends that are around him. But yeah, thanks to him for reposting us on his story. So that was good job, Chase, getting that clip edited and putting that out there. Thanks to producer Bobby as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed that show with Ryan. That was a cool one. What do you think? You enjoy that one?
Yeah, I loved it, man. I love that Pat's a big Sage guy. Talks about Sage.
Yeah.
We like to make sure we clean rooms around here. So yeah, anytime you get Pat doing what he's doing now to interact, I think he knows as well that he's a big IndyCar guy. He's talked about it. We've shared multiple things. So I didn't personally know that about him helping you back in 2016. So it's just really cool, like how that connection comes together and how we got to find a way now to get Ryan and Pat together with us at some point. We'll do some stuff down there at the Indy 5. I just love how he does that kind of stuff. He's a free spirit, Pat is. But Ryan as well, man. Like they've got such a good group of dudes at ESPN right now, and I don't know if enough people appreciate it. Because we have so much on the web as far as media now. But, I mean, when you look at the history of where these guys have been and where they are today, like even with Marty, like those are the people that have real passion and that have a different level of intensity that they can bring to the sports that they're covering. So I just really respect and appreciate people like Ryan, like Pat, like Marty, just out here grinding for it. Like, they're still in the beginning stages of their career when they're nowhere near that, and they're just still in that pure form of just work and play. So big shout out to them.
Yeah, it was a great show. If you haven't listened to it, please check it out. But yeah, this week, we have to record this show on Monday because I think Chase is going to get snowed in somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going to be snowed in Louisiana.
So we're recording. If there's news on Tuesday, we apologize for missing it, but we still have a few things to talk about. So Content Day last week was a lot of fun. Honestly, we got to experience Fox firsthand.
How was it?
I tell you what, they had some cool stuff. So a lot of the people there were actually the same people that are producing a lot of the things that you'll see at the Super Bowl. So that's cool. Those are high-level human beings. The set that they had in there, like the amount of money that cost for sure was insane. We were in the Indiana Convention Center, the Indianapolis Convention Center, which is obviously a large facility. We took up a small portion of that place, but seeing what they were able to build there for us was awesome. To see, I mean, there was like they had drones flying around, like filming us in a giant room, and all kinds of just cool stuff that takes it to a higher level. And that's what we're trying to figure. Like that's what we're trying to bring IndyCar to, is just a higher level. And the people there were super nice. Great human interaction with the folks there. So I think there's a lot that obviously we can't show you yet because they have to produce all this stuff. They have to edit it together, make it amazing. but just something to be excited about. I think the quality of the stuff that was recorded is fantastic, and it just made me excited. It's one of those days that I think people are like, "Oh, your job's not that hard." It's like, well, okay, you could say that, but we were there at like 7:30 in the morning. You sit there, you're signing. We had a bunch of trading cards to sign to, a lot of Parkside new trading cards, so those will be coming out as well. Really different.
You and Joseph.
Couple new
you
sets.
Signed Joseph a card?
Yeah, we signed each other. We signed each other a few different cards, maybe through some creativity around. But the way IndyCar actually did it was fantastic. I give them a lot of credit for making it very organized this year. Like, you finished at one place, you went to another, you went to another, you went to another. And this was 8 a.m. until about 5 p.m. all day long. You're just in a race suit, walking from one place to the other, reading teleprompters, doing this, taking photos. And so it's hard to be like on for that much time. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to smile and I'm going to talk and I'm going to shout into a teleprompter and do all this stuff. But it was a lot of fun, and it seemed to be one of the most efficient days that I've gone through. And it really makes you appreciate your job, because last year I didn't get to do that. Last year I was not a part of the content day activities. I wasn't employed yet. And some drivers are like, oh, it's a long day and stuff, but it's you miss it when you're not a part of it. And so I was very thankful to be a part of that type of situation again. And it was fun seeing, talking to some of the guys. I haven't seen a lot of the drivers in a long time, unless we've had them on the show. But good to catch up with folks. Will Power's always hilarious. Marcus Armstrong, quite hilarious. If you haven't watched my YouTube video about it, I did a bit of a vlog on the YouTubes if you want to check it out. Just a few behind the scenes little activities. Good to see Callum Ilott back, honestly. I met Robert Schwartzman. I had not met him before. Nice guy. And yeah, it was an enjoyable day, and definitely some things to look forward to on the Fox side. We also had the night before, so now Tuesday night, I was very lucky to be a part of a group that had a nice dinner downtown, and it was myself, Joseph Newgarden, Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon, Alex Rossi, and Marcus Ericsson. So that was the group of drivers. And we were with the CEO, or the heads of Fox, two of the head guys at Fox, Mark Miles, Jonathan Gibson, Bud Danker, all the high-level Penske Entertainment folk. Roger wasn't there, but the high-level Penske Entertainment folk and the folks from Fox, and just to have a conversation with those guys about where they see IndyCar going, what the excitement level is and how much they're going to put into it. That was the most encouraging thing I've heard. So yeah, I think what they have in store, what they see in what we have as a sport was super encouraging. I was at that dinner, and I would kind of look at some of the drivers, and you're like, hey, this is sweet. And this is after we see the Joseph Newgarden commercial, which obviously everyone loved, and we saw it again.
Building.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's it was just really encouraging, and I want to let people know that, gosh, there's a lot of work being done for us, for our sport, and we appreciate those folks for doing it. So it was a cool one.
Dude, they're a fantastic group of people. I mean, just my time that I had working in the whole NASCAR realm, I got to make a lot of friends with a lot of the Fox guys and gals, and they are a bright, creative bunch, man. I cannot say enough about them, and some of the guys and girls that I know from the NASCAR side, they're coming over to the IndyCar side, and I've had some good conversations with them, and it's just really encouraging because you, like you've said for so long, when you've got a great product, it all just comes down to how do we best write that story for the people. So to hear that more and more of you guys that are driving, more team members and just, owners, however, whatever it takes to get the confidence level up in everyone, that energy is so strong and it can't be shut off. I mean, you got Will Buxton. I saw this quote today. I mean, his confidence level is so high. He's out here. He's just swinging already, saying we could be bigger than NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, that quote definitely. I think people are going to read into that a little bit too much because that's all we see. it depends on how that was said. Why can't we be optimistic like that? Like, that's fine. You can say that. And Will, of course, is excited about this. And why would you not want to be like, hey, when we are doing something, we want to do it at the best possible level, and we want to take on the top of the game, which is NASCAR right now. You know, NASCAR has the most viewership for motorsport right now in the country. So we want to go toe-to-toe with them. So I'm excited to see Will saying that. He's obviously going to get a ton of people who are going to be like, oh, that's stupid. You can't say that, because everyone just loves to complain about stuff.
And he doesn't care.
I like the optimism. I'll take that. Like, yeah, we want to go toe-to-toe with NASCAR because that means we're all going to be able to sell sponsorship easier and maybe make more money. So that's good.
Exactly. Like what you said is so true. I mean, it's you learn how to do these things, right? You know, and it's not to say that anything's wrong with any other series, because you know, rising tide raises all ships, right?
We hope so. Yeah.
At the end of the day, we like racing. We want to see racing. A little healthy competition is good. Yeah. And that is why I think what he said is good, because whether you like it or not, it's going to get more eyes on IndyCar, whether it's people watching it to succeed or wanting to watch it to fail. So,
yeah, we certainly hope succeeding. And I love Will's energy. I think seeing him be received by the IndyCar fan base is great. Love the announcement. I didn't actually get to interact with any of the Fox commentators on Content Day, because I think the Content Day was for the commentators was more focused on the stars, which again I get. I am not a star yet. I would like to be a star, so I will hopefully talk to the commentators more at some point. But it's all been cool. I think, you know, one thing we could look forward to, again, a lot more drone usage, people have been saying, so a lot of drones may be flying around, which I think could be really cool. Finally, we're going to get back to helmet cams, apparently, the driver's eye cam with the little cameras inside your helmets. I think that will be sweet for fans to see. I don't know if we're going to get to a point yet where we can see more onboard cameras, which is a shame because every car should have an onboard camera. It's crazy that we don't have it. But we've asked that question 100 million times, and it seems to be a bandwidth thing. So I don't know. But either way, we're going to have driver's eye cameras, which I think are super important for that fan experience to kind of embrace how difficult it is to do what we're doing. And that'll be sweet. So shout out to Fox. Again, we saw the commercial over the weekend, you know, Saturday, watching the NFL playoff games, and you're like, oh, there's Joseph Newgarden. Well, that's a sweet IndyCar commercial. You know what I mean? So
heck yeah.
It's not like they just played it once last weekend during the divisional games or the wildcard games. It's continuing. And I think we're going to see even more. And then I think what happens during the Super Bowl? Well, guess what, guys? Super Bowl's on Fox. So I hope we see something during the Super Bowl.
I would love to see him bring something down here in New Orleans, too, because the Super Bowl's in New Orleans. Yeah. I'm right here. Like, dude, let's throw an IndyCar down in the first quarter. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, let me see it.
It would be cool. So, I just want to say I'm excited. And for all of you to be encouraged that I think we're going the right way. So, in other news, before we get to Stingray, there has been a couple interesting announcements. So, during Content Day, Will Power announced that he has proper management now. Mm-hmm. And the management is Fernando Alonso and Oriol Servia, A14 management. And what I think is interesting about that is Will Power definitely, I believe, does not want to be done. And the guy is still fighting for wins and championships. And is this a sign to Penske like, hey, I've got real management now because I deserve to be here. So I want to have people in your ears every day, you know, trying to negotiate a new deal, because I believe Will Power has done nothing, you know, other than deserve a shot to continue at Penske. But is Penske looking for David Malukas? Is Penske looking for the next young guy? I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting move, because apparently Will Power, I guess, has been representing himself or kind of doing his own deals. But having Fernando and Oriol, that group as your management, I mean, that's not a small group of people. I mean, that's an important management team. So shout out Will for maybe getting some lawyers in the trenches and fighting for himself to kind of stay at the top level of the sport, because I think he deserves it. No one should be retiring Will Power early, because that guy is still killing it out there. The guy's insane.
IndyCar is really just getting started. And I think that has a lot to do with it too, because you look at the marketability, right? Like, this is the moment a lot of guys have been waiting for. And so, like, if you're in here and you're a little bit older, you want to make sure that you get to sit and bask in that for a little while. And you deserve to. Like, look at Scott Dixon. He's another guy. And
Scott Dixon doesn't age. Yeah, he's an alien.
But, he's one of those dudes that more people should know about, for one, which they already do. But, even more in racing culture. So I personally think, and we've had Oriole on not long ago, very smart guy, very innovative guy. So that right there is going to just be really cool to see. And we love Will Power, man. He had some good stuff from Content Day that I saw. His goofy faces.
Absolutely. And, so anyway, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk about as well. And this was Michael Cannon. So Michael Cannon, very talented engineer. This was quite an interesting story that seemed to develop. And Michael is probably one of my favorite people in the paddock. And Michael was my engineer my rookie year in IndyCar. He got me to my first IndyCar podium, almost another one at Watkins Glen. Just was always real with me, believed in me. And he's the one who essentially, rejuvenated Foyt and Penske. The information that he brought from working at Ganassi with Scott Dixon, winning races and almost winning a bunch of 500s, he was able to completely reshuffle Foyt, reshape Foyt, and even his knowledge then put all of the Penske cars on the front row. So Michael Cannon is an absolute wizard. And I was talking to Michael a little bit, kind of pre-winter about, hey, we'd love to work together. Maybe there's a spot at JHR. I wasn't signed there yet. We didn't really know what was going on. And he ended up with Prema, because Prema obviously is trying to, make a big step into IndyCar. We've seen how much money they're spending, how much they're doing to be competitive. And, they hired a guy named Steve, who was on the JHR team last year as an engineer. And the season hasn't even got started yet, and Michael Cannon departed Prema, so he's no longer with Prema. Now, I think there's probably always more to it than meets the eye, and I love Michael a lot. He's one of my favorite people in this sport. I'm very curious to see where he goes next, and I hope this wasn't anything that was too big of an issue. But there's a quote, right? So Michael Cannon, his quote was, "I recently resigned my position from Prema Racing. I was hired as head of engineering for Prema's IndyCar program, in part due to 25 years in the series, as well as my track record at the Indy 500 as of late. In very short order, I felt that the majority of my advice and counsel was being disregarded or simply ignored. It was my opinion that my time at Prema was not going to be used wisely, and I thusly resigned my position." Now, the rest of his quote is, "Prema is to be commended for their commitment to the IndyCar Series and for their willingness to take on its myriad of challenges. The IndyCar Series is a massively competitive arena, and mastering its nuances is difficult for every team involved. Please root for them, become a fan, and wish them well." Now, if that is what's actually happening and Prema is ignoring the brain wizardry of Michael Cannon, that's tough. But who knows what else is going on? We don't know what's going on in that situation. I'm not a hands-on witness. I don't know. All I know is that, that was an interesting one. We're like, hey, all right, didn't really expect that. So
I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, he's basically just saying that, I'm giving advice, they're not taking it, and I don't want to work somewhere where that's the case.
Yeah, I just find that wild if that's really the case. There's probably always more than what meets the media. But a shame for Michael, because Michael, I believe, deserves to have a great household position in the IndyCar paddock, and I'm curious to see where he ends up. We'll see. But that was a big story. So, that was a huge hire for them, and now he's gone, and we're not even at February yet. So, interesting to see how to see how Prema recovers from that or gets through that. But that's pretty much it for the news. There's really not a ton going on this week, honestly, unless something comes out on a Tuesday, which it just might.
Just want to say thanks to Mark Miles for taking pictures with Pato.
Yeah, that was a good one.
What a guy. I mean, just getting out in front of the billboard, posing, got a nice jacket on, big puffer, he's just having a good time. Like that's the personality. That's the when you can laugh at yourself as a CEO, Like, that's my kind of guy. So I'm very proud of him for doing that. And whoever got that put together, great job. Thank you. We needed that. IndyCar is healing. That's what a lot of people were saying.
Yeah, I would agree with that. To see Mark Miles and Pato out in front of the billboard was very funny. Good piece of content from those guys. Pato, very smart young fella, and his team, very smart team of humans. And good for Mark for doing that too. I think Mark wasn't a racing guy, coming into this job, and he's learned a lot at a high rate of speed, and we appreciate him for doing that. I think that was a good moment for our sport. So shout out to Mark Miles and Pato Award. That was a good one. But with that, let's get to our guest, my teammate, Sting Ray Rob. Great interview. I think you guys will enjoy this one, and hopefully you respect the honesty that was in there. We talk about a lot of things, and let us know what you think in the comments. We appreciate every one of you. Here is the pilot of the number 77 Juncos Hollinger Racing Chevrolet, Sting Ray Rob. Ladies and gentlemen, this week is a very, very special show. I think there's been several people who have asked for this show, who have asked for this interview. We've been seeing the comments. We have an American man, an IndyCar driver, NTT IndyCar driver, an Indy Pro 2000 champion, a man who will be in the same suit, sort of, as me, a teammate of mine, Stingray Rob, American man, American IndyCar driver. Welcome to the Speed Street Podcast. How you doing, teammate?
I'm doing well, teammate. How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. We're very, very excited. We are here specifically to talk about the fact that our paint schemes have been released today. Our cars, I would like to, we sent producer Bobby some photographs of these cars, so he now knows. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see them. We'll put them up there. And if you're listening on the podcast platforms, well, just look at the internet. You'll find them. You'll find them, find our social channels. Still kind of keeping with the Juncos Hollinger green, a little bit more white this year, a little bit more green on your car, a little bit more gray on mine. What do you think of the cars? How are we feeling about them? And yeah, what's your level of excitement for this kind of year coming up in front of us?
I think the cars look great. I mean, I'm happy to look at any Indy car, I think. I don't think there's a bad looking one in the paddock, but it's not my first time in green, so it's good to have that back again. I got good memories driving a green car around, so to see that in person is going to be nice. But yeah, this year should be good. I'm excited to see what kind of a program we have once we get to a racetrack.
I agree. I think that, first of all, I believe that this will be kind of like our base livery, right? Like I believe that both of us will have, some different partnerships that will show up during the season. Maybe, I don't know about your camp, but I think that we will see maybe a couple different liveries, certainly on my side, as we have a couple, partnership announcements that will be coming. But as is in this current era, you got to sell it. You got to sell it hard. We got to have different people supporting us. And I know that this is kind of like, hey, this is the base. This is what we're going to see. But is there anything that you think that you want to maybe tease to people? Is there anything that hey, we're excited about some partnerships that are coming up for you guys? Because obviously I think there's been some cool stuff that you guys have had on your cars before. No announcements yet, but can we give anyone hey, this, because I think that I'm going to see some, let's say magenta on my car at some point. Who knows? But is there anything you want to tease? Any little tidbits for the people?
I don't know about a tease, but I've seen some mock-ups and some things, and it looks fun. We've had the paw prints in the past. That was a really fun livery that we were able to go with. So, yeah, we'll see. I think that people will enjoy whatever we come up with. And again, I think that we're in the same camp. This era of motorsports is tough. So, I mean, it really is kind of like a very fluid thing of what's the car going to look like for the year? I don't know. So that's the fun of it, but it also makes it a little bit of a challenge.
For sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about your IndyCar career so far. So obviously, we both spent our rookie years at Dale Coyne Racing. It seems like a lot of drivers spend their rookie years at Dale Coyne Racing. It's kind of like how you get into this sport. But then you went to the AJ Foyt Racing team, obviously, and they had a partnership with the Team Penske organization, which I think people were kind of interested in. Didn't really know what that meant, but that had to have been a benefit for you as a driver who's learning a lot, right? Young drivers in this series it's tough. I mean, there's so many experienced veterans in this championship. It's definitely, I think, the most competitive open wheel championship that there is in the world. But what has that been like as your progression? You know, you're still super young. I mean, it's crazy to think. I feel very old, but what's your progression been like? What has it been in 2 different environments so far, this being your 3rd coming up? But has there been different learning experiences in each place you've been so far?
For sure there has been. And, you know, I think that I kind of said last year was my 2nd rookie season, if you will, because the first year there with Dale Coyne was a rough year. I mean, I think that you almost were a victim of one of our moments, losing a tire there at Iowa in the middle of a race. And that was just like kind of the name of the game for a whole year. It was just like frustrating season. But last year, again, having moved to AJ Foyt Racing, there was a lot of learning to do. And again, like I said, it's like my 2nd rookie year. So I just kind of threw everything out that I knew before and started over again. And I did a lot of learning, and it was really good. And having Santino as my teammate was actually a huge benefit because he was very open. He's a very honest driver. And so like it was a lot of conversations behind the scenes that I was able to kind of just ask him straight up questions, and he gives me a straight answer back. There was no hidden knowledge, no hidden setups or anything like that. But still a lot of mistakes were made on and off the track. So it was frustrating, but you know, I think this is kind of how my progression has gone in my career. I'm like a 3rd year or 4th year driver, I'd say, which is terrible. But you know, I think that showing up on the first day would be nice to go out and push this year and be able to see, okay, these are the results that we can have.
Let's talk about Santino as a teammate, because I think, as many people know, maybe not the biggest fan of him as a human being. However, we have always said on this show, he is a talented driver. I think obviously finishing in the top 10 in the IndyCar Championship is no easy thing to do. The guy is clearly a skilled pilot of the vehicle. Maybe some decision-making skills maybe need to still develop, but that's fine. I need to develop a lot of skills myself too. But what was he like as a teammate overall? You mentioned that, hey, good guy, shared a lot of information with you, but is there anything more that was like, hey, this guy is very fast in these corners for a certain reason? Is it bravery? What is it about him that makes him a good teammate?
Yeah, I mean, Santino was a big personality to be teammates with, but in like the best possible way. Like you always knew where he stood, good or bad. And most of the time he was good. I mean, honestly, Santino's got a big heart for the people that he works with, and he was a good part for the team. So like as entertaining as he was to see fighting with other people, I was glad I wasn't on the receiving end of that deal. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of time spent in the shop or the engineering room just laughing at some of the choices that he made on track. But I mean, half the time they worked out okay, half the time they didn't. So I mean, I remember watching Milwaukee. I mean, you were a prime example of the chaos that ensued at Milwaukee, but there were some moves that I saw there. I'm like, Santino, like, you realize this is an Indy car and not a quarter midget or a midget on dirt, right? Like, it's a completely different driving style. He's like, no, I just drive the same. It's fine. So you ask, like, okay, maybe it's his bravery, maybe it's stupidity, who knows what it is. But it was kind of funny because, like, a prime example of who Santino was as far as, like, a driver goes, I think came at Indy, because the whole month of May, right, we prepare so much to go out and do 4 laps flat out with the fastest car possible. And I remember there was probably 6 or 7, 8 times where he'd go out, do 1-2 laps, pit it. And he's like, nah, I'm not driving that thing. That thing is sketchy. You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And so like he really was super cautious and like not willing to deal with anything inside the cockpit until it came on quali day. And like you see him do a 4-wheel drift up to the wall at 230 whatever miles an hour. So it's like he knew when and where to do that. And I think that that's what made him special. It's kind of like he has the experience to pull from of like, no, I'm not willing to do that. He knows what bites back, I guess you could say. And so, yeah, he was very good in that sense of pushing at the right times. Sometimes too much, but very rarely was it, too much on his own end. I think in the engineering room, he did a good job of pulling from past experiences. I mean, there's a lot of guys that we had last year from different camps that came to the AJ Foyt camp. And so he'd worked with some of them in the past because, similar path to what maybe you have had, like he's worked with a bunch of different teams. And so he's known those engineers from those different teams for so long now that they can go, hey, remember back in 2019 when we did this with the roll bar? He's like, yeah, I do remember that. And he's got notes from all of those events showing like, this is what I felt, this is what we did. It's the same car, right? Like tires change, aero package changes a little bit, but the fundamentals are there. And so he understood the fundamentals of what the car needed, I think. And honestly, like I think what made him good is his ability to build confidence through the year, unlike what I had. I think that we both started out in a similar-ish spot, but the Penske deal really helped on the technical side throughout the development of the season. We were trying to figure out what to do with it, I think, at the beginning, and we did like kind of like a hybrid setup of this, that, and another thing from the baseline. And I remember, I think it was, I'm trying to remember what event it was. It might have been Indy 500, actually. Barber was still fairly early in the season, but it kind of like clicked for him where that confidence level kicked in. He's like, actually, like this car can do what I need it to do at different times. But again, he had that ability to recognize, okay, now is the time or now is not the time. So it was fun to watch his progression during the year, and especially watching him pull from past experiences and leaning on the guys around him.
That's good. Well, that's good to hear, honestly. All right, Chase, I'm going to let you jump in here too.
Yeah, Stingray, anybody ever told you got vibes? Like you got big vibes, like mad vibes?
Mad vibes?
Well, I mean, like you got this swift swaft about you. I don't know. I noticed it first, I think, when it was the race at Thermal Club. There was a big zoom in portion on you. You had these like round shades on, and it was just like you wanted to put some Tommy Richmond on. I don't know if you vibe like that at all, but I just want to let you know you have them. And,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, your name is Stingray. Yeah, I'm sure you know that. What was it like growing up on the playground? Like out there, like with the carts. Like, what was it like having that name? Like, can you just walk us through kind of like the saga of your life with the name Stingray?
It had to be cool, first of all, to show up at the playground. Honestly, as a kid, it had to be sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely kept people entertained. That's for sure. I remember I was probably like 7 or 8 years old, and there was this old guy that I met, and he could not remember my name for the life of him. And so like he just kept coming up with different names. He's like stick shift, speed bump, like whatever. He just throw different names out there that were car related. And I just rolled with it. Like I remember my old Snapchat username was like speed bump, something, or whatever. And so just like, it was entertaining, but yeah, I have plenty of nicknames and you just got to roll with it. There's a lot of poking fun on the playground for sure, but I had a good time with it. I know who I am, so I just roll with the punches and keep moving forward.
Heck yeah. Do you know, I mean, like your parents obviously, like, did they ever like kind of talk to you about why?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I can tell you the story right now if you want.
Yeah,
let's hear it.
Yeah, okay. So the fun side of the story is that my parents are big Corvette fans. You guys see the bow ties all over the place in my household. So I grew up in a big Chevy household. I'd go to like drag races, autocross events, Corvette club meetings. I actually took my first steps at a Corvette club meeting. So anyways, they passed their passion on to me.
Shout out Team Chevy. Shout out Team Chevy as well.
Day one. My day one. So yeah, they were big Corvette fans, named me after the Stingray Corvette. My dad had a C2 Stingray that I grew up around. I mean, that's like what I grew up sitting in. Going to the drag races, watching him blow up the rear end on that like 15 times, rebuild it, all that fun stuff. So that's where that side came from. And then kind of like the more boring, but like the logical side was my dad's side of the family's heritage is from Stirlingshire, Scotland. And so Sting is actually short for Sterling. It was Stirling. And then both of my grandfathers had Ray in their name. And so I think that was just them trying to justify naming me after a car. But I mean, hey, it worked out. I'm happy with it either way.
No, I love that though, man. Unique names. We need more unique names in the world. So you have the most unique name, I think, in the series. So we had to know.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about the end of the season last year, particularly the last race, right? There was a big battle going on, leader circle. I was in the same battle. We were fighting over the same types of things, but I actually had this question posed to me by my girlfriend's family. We were trying to talk about, hey, what's maybe an interesting question that might be good to ask for Stingray? And this one specifically was a great one. You were dealing with food poisoning at Nashville, which I, thank God, have never had to deal with food poisoning. I don't know. I don't know if I've just been given diabetes. That sucks. But the ability to fight food poisoning maybe is good. I don't know. But that had to have been very, very difficult, because can you tell people how bad that was for you during that weekend and how difficult that was to suit up and get after it?
Yeah, I don't remember most of that race, honestly. Like, I remember feeling fatigued and like not really being cognizant of like certain things during that day. But like I think it was, the race was on Saturday or Sunday. I don't even remember.
I actually don't remember either. That's a great.
Okay.
It was Sunday. It was definitely Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the days. Well, we had that night practice because of the rain delay.
I'll Google it while you're talking.
There we go. So we had that night practice the night before. And so like I had a late dinner. And so like I was getting to bed kind of late, got back to the hotel at like 9:30, something like that. And I remember like feeling like my stomach was like a little bit upset, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll like just roll with it, go to bed, sleep it off. And I woke up and ran to the bathroom at like 11 p.m.
It was a Sunday race, by the way. It was a Sunday race.
Okay, so Saturday night, 11 p.m., I just remember running to the bathroom. But at the end of the night, I ended up just grabbing a pillow and taking it to the bathroom with me because like there was no escaping everything that was going on. And so from like 11 p.m. to about 7-ish, I was like in there still throwing my guts up, and then got to the racetrack. And I remember like not being able to walk because I was so fatigued at that point, like so dehydrated. And so went to the medical care center, and they put 3 IV fluid bags in me before the race. And we're like, is that going to be enough? And they're like, we don't know. So I tried eating like, a little bit of food, tried to drink a Gatorade, and like I ended up wearing a diaper for that race just in case, because, you know, things happen. So anyways, went through the race, and I just remember.
I don't know. That's, first of all, we appreciate you for admitting that, because I don't know if anyone's ever said that they've worn a diaper in an IndyCar race before. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. We got to do what we got to do.
I was wearing that white paw print suit, and I was like thinking, like, you know, Brett's
going to show up
if that goes wrong.
Really, you can't have yellow stain.
Yeah, no, I was going to deal with that. So, anyways, 3 IV fluid bags, and then got in the car. And I remember like maybe the first caution flag of the day or second, my spotter's like, Stingray, how you doing? And I was like, don't ask. Like, I don't want to talk about it right now. Like, and I later on got on the radio and I was like, please have a bag for me after the race. Like, I'm struggling here. So that was frustrating. Like, I think that we were 1 spot away from making it into the leader circle. And so like, I knew that had I been on my game, I mean, the car was quick. I was so fatigued. It was frustrating.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Honestly, gritty though. Gritty of you to make it to the end, because that was a tough race, I think, for a lot of different reasons. There were people fuel saving. There were people not fuel saving. There were people that were all in all kinds of different modes. There was a wild clip of you in the middle of the battle for the lead too, which was a crazy situation, getting split by Pato and Colton. That was
I hated that.
Well, hey, made it through, right? Like that was one of those things that, again, it's something that. How physically demanding these cars are, and to have to deal with that. I'm very thankful that I have not had to deal with that yet, but hey, it could happen. And in the end of the day, still got to show up and do your job and try to do it the best you can. And I respect you for having done that. So let's talk a little bit about more what's going on in the future, right? So we've been together at the team for a very short period of time, really, but we've kind of started to get into the work zone, into the offices, seeing what's going on, kind of looking at the schedule ahead. What are you most excited about for this season? Last year, you got some great experience at Indy, right? Indy was, I would say, a highlight for sure. Some great time spent at the front, understanding what was going on there at the front of the field. Probably a different environment. I know for a fact when my first few Indy 500s, I was all over the place. I crashed my rookie year. My rookie year was actually 2013, which I completely forget about at the 500. But then my rookie year in IndyCar wasn't until 3 years later. So I had a couple different experiences where you spend the first race, all right, we just figured it out. We spent most of the race on fire for me, and then just finished the race, put some laps in, right? Then the second time, showed up, didn't even do the race, right? But once you start to learn, it's like, all right, now there's different scenarios that you got to implement the things you learn. But then when you get to the front, I found it was an entirely different experience. Can you kind of explain to people what that was like for you?
Yeah. I mean, you were there. We were both there. That was like the most amazing thing ever, is like going back and forth, the two of us after that strategy call. That was a cool moment. So yeah, I just remember like started 24th. Our qualifying was frustrating. We should have been way further up the field than that, but mistakes were made. Anyways, we were up until like 19th, I think, before that caution came out. And I remember like talking to the team on the radio and being like, what are we going to do? And like they did a late call, stay out. I remember looking up and the only car I could see in front of me was a pace car and just panicking. I was like, oh no, like I'm going to get chewed up and spit out here in about 2 seconds by the guys behind us. And honestly, it wasn't too bad. You know, the tires didn't fall off super bad. The cars raced very, very well. And then it was much calmer at the front for some reason. I don't know why people weren't as angry at the front as they were at the back of the pack there, but I just remember
anger
like,
when you're at the front, more comfort, I would say.
I would agree. Like I was shocked to not get absolutely just trashed and run out of the way by people. And like there's a lot more respect going on, and like I just felt like that was a much better place to be. Like I felt at home running at the front there. And I remember Scott went by at one point and thinking to myself, like, it'd be really dumb to lead right now. I'm like, no, screw it. Like, second year in IndyCar, I'm going to lead Indy 500. So I ended up passing him, ended up leading some laps, stayed out front. I remember rating with the team at one point. It's like, hey, should I let him back by? And they're like, probably, but it's fine. Just keep enjoying it up there, see what it's like. So got to play with the tools a little bit, see what it's like out in clean air, try to plan for later on in the race and being hopeful, but didn't pay off in the end, but it was super cool. Running at the front is probably the best feeling ever at the 500.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Chase, I'm going to let you jump back in as well.
Yeah, so Stingray, kind of playing off of what Connor was asking, you know, looking ahead to this year, we've been kind of critical of you on this program. I'm sure you've heard in the past. You know, we talked a little bit about it, but luckily you have thick skin. So, you know, about the nicknames, things like that. So now I feel a lot more comfortable with that. But is there anything you'd like to address here on the program about some goals maybe that you have set for this year and what you are looking to bring to the table for yourself? Like what's on the expo board at the house?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll lead off by saying, like, I heard we had beef. I didn't know we had beef when I heard that we had beef. I was told
not personal beef, I would say. I've always said, hey, and as I called you as well, which I think I told people about on the show.
I appreciate that. That was good.
Respect to you as a human being, for sure. Great guy. Sting Ray Rob, great guy.
So, anyways, but we'll move on from that now. But I thought that was funny. Anyways, yeah, I think goals for this year, you know, I've put numbers to the goals in the past. I'm recently married. So a goal is to stay married through this racing season. Thank you.
Nice. That would be a great goal, I think.
Huge goal.
That's a highlight goal.
And looking at the schedule this year, it might be tough. So we'll see how things go, but I'm hopeful. Anyway, so on track, you know, I think that we can do some good things. Definitely keeping the car in the leader circle. I think running inside the top 15 pretty consistently would be really, really good. And then going from there, you know, I think that we can have some highlights depending on which events we're good at. You know, I think that Connor, you got to see where the car was good, where it wasn't last year. So I'll be leaning on you to kind of point me in those directions, and we're going to evolve. So I know that this program is still kind of young in its development, but the continuity from the engineering perspective, from the mechanics perspective, it's all there. So I'm a new driver getting plugged into this program. So I'm going to do the best I can to set a goal to learn the team, learn what they need from me, and build a program for the future for them.
Those are good goals. Good goals for sure. I completely agree. I think that this program, without a doubt, as you mentioned, is young. There's a lot to learn in this championship as a team, not only as a driver. But I think that there's a lot to be excited about. I think the ovals last year for sure were a strong moment for us. But as we saw, you know, Romain Grosjean had some great runs at the road and street courses as well. And even at Portland, even though our results there were disgusting because we got wrecked and all kinds of stuff as a group, but you know, there's a lot of things to be excited about there too. If you look kind of a little bit deeper into the program, you could say, hey, there's some things to be excited about. But obviously this year too, there's, you know, new things to feel, right? we didn't have the hybrid for the first half of the season, right? So there are definitely going to be a little bit of a new experience at, certain street courses like Long Beach and St. Petersburg. The weight differences are much different now with this hybrid system. And the integration of that will be very interesting, I think. What do you think so far of the hybrid? I think you were able to do probably a few more races than me with that system integrated. What are your kind of first impressions of that, and what do you think we have to look forward to with that in the future?
Yeah, I think the hybrid, obviously the technology is good to have. I think that we're going in the right direction as a series to push that forward. This car's been around a while, so
long time.
Yeah, let's keep getting new
too
things.
Long.
Yeah, too long. I agree. So yeah, I think that the weight was my biggest complaint about the car, just because physically, like, you could feel the weight taxing on your body. I remember, I think it was probably, I don't remember what race it was. They all kind of turned into a blur last year, but just like pre-hybrid, I felt physically very good. Post-hybrid, I was like, man, this thing is hard to drive. And like, you kind of have to really like manage it. And so that was kind of an interesting thing to feel, because, as you move up different series, the cars are usually bigger, faster, heavier, longer, whatever. And you don't realize how much of that is weight, but it's very clearly like, this is the weight of the vehicle that you're feeling now. And I think that it was a good contrast to have that with the extra torque provided by the hybrid system. I think that if we keep increasing that, it'll be a much more useful tool this year. And it sounds like that we're going to do that. But we saw like Nashville, how usable it was to make passes every now and then. Portland as well. And so it's kind of like a secondary push to pass, I'd say. Kind of like a pre-push to pass. Like you're preheating the system for it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think with what we've seen as well with the implementation of what we're able to do with that system this year, I think there can be more when it comes to overtaking, more usage of the system. And I really hope it does work out for us. I think for sure we've been very honest on this show about, hey, might it be tough at certain tracks to use this system, and at the Indy 500 specifically, we see that, hey, might it be tough? Yes, but we are race car drivers. We have to use the situation at hand to the best of our abilities to make passes, no matter how terrible the car feels or no matter how great the car feels. So there will be a lot there. But let's look at the Indy 500 specifically. Very good stuff to be excited about for us, right? We had some excitement last year. But we know that there are still going to be people that might have to make the race, right? And we don't want to be those people.
No.
But how excited are you to kind of look ahead and know that you've got several different environments that you've been in? You've got to experience that kind of Penske integration, which had to be awesome. But now, going forward, this team also had a lot of speed at the Indy 500. So you have to be pumped about that. And moving forward, we're coming to the end of this show and this interview, but the Indy 500 might be the highlight. And maybe it is going to be the best event ever for us. But can you tell us a little bit about what you're excited about when it comes to that type of speed that this team had shown last year?
Yeah, I mean, it makes me very excited because I know that's its own event. Like, you have the IndyCar Championship and then you have the Indy 500. Like, they really are two separate championships we're fighting for in a sense. And it seems like the Indy 500 is not something you can just start preparing for during the month of May. I mean, the guys have been working at the shop nonstop during the offseason to get that car ready to go. And I know that speed comes from that prep work they're doing. So I'm excited to see what it's like once we get to the speedway. I know that, like I said before, this car's been around a while. So adding some new technology, but like the hybrid, adding some weight can change it up a little bit. But that speed's going to be there either way because they know what the key pieces are. And so I'm excited. I think that we have a good program in place to run at the front of the field again this year. Obviously, 2023 was a rough year for me at the Indy 500, being in the last row qualifying and just like flat out, that's all we had. And then last year...
Hey, I've been there too. I've been on the last row many times, so I get it.
And it's one of the scariest places to be because you're like, man, like, it doesn't take much and we're just done. You just park the car for the rest of the month. And then like last year, I felt like we really nailed the car down in the race. And it was like, I couldn't do anything wrong, right? Like I didn't have to dance it around. I just put the car where I wanted to. It did exactly what I wanted to when I wanted it to do it. Right up until the end of the race when we had a pressure leak in one of the tires. But that's another story that adds some excitement. But, those things happen. And that's what makes Indy 500 so special, is that the race picks the winner or the leader or whatever else. And so it's fun to like prepare and put yourself in that opportunity to do that. And I think we have a good chance to do that this year.
For sure. Now, we appreciate you being here doing this show. And look, there is nothing that can be hidden these days on what people have said on the internet. And I am not afraid to, I for certainly can never hide behind anything, right? Because I say a lot of things that may be awful, but also might be great. So look, never want to hide behind anything. And for sure, have I said some, not as wonderful things out there about you yourself? For sure. But also, have I done, maybe some terrible things on the motor racing track? Absolutely. I've had some terrible times in my career that have been and looked absolutely disgusting. But boy, am I excited to have, some times ahead in the future to look forward to and some things to learn in the future. And so, hey, we respect that. We look forward to looking, ahead. And hey, I'm excited to have you as a teammate because we have, as I mentioned to you on a phone call that I made to you myself, that, hey, we get to work together in this racing series that is super cool to be a part of. And so I can't wait to do that. So we appreciate you being a part of this show with us, and we're excited about the future. We also have a segment on this show called the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week. And I would like for you this week to pick a year for us to select. So select a random year in the over 100 years of history for us to use, and we will find a driver in that year to use as a random driver of the week.
Okay. This is any random.
It can be any year of our whole history of this race. It has to be a good one.
Yeah.
We like to go super old nowadays because, boy, can you find an entirely interesting group of humans.
Great names.
Great names. Okay. Well, I'll go to the year that I'm named after the Corvette, which is in 1966.
Okay, 1966. Perfect. We will go to the 1966. Do you know who won the 1966 Indianapolis 500, Sting Ray Rob?
I do not. Should I?
All right. I don't either. So let's figure it out. We're going to figure it out as well. So stay tuned in this show to find the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week from the year of 1966. So, Stingray, thank you for being a part of this show. And we appreciate you for your honesty about what has been your career so far and what we're looking at ahead. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed that interview. I enjoyed it. I think obviously people are like, oh, what are you gonna, you said so many things. Like, what's it gonna be like? It's like, well, we talk like adults because we're teammates. We have discussed what has been said even. And you know what? Shout out Stingray for being cool about it. I think the guy still has a lot to prove, but don't we all? Every day you're judged by the last lap that you do. So, I have a lot I want to prove. He's got a lot he wants to prove. We're all just working on being the best we can be every day. So we'll see what happens. Should be fun. With that, we're going to get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week, which Stingray gave us a year for. So thank you so much, Stingray. Here is the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
The greatest event of its kind has never been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. Who make up the field?
This week, we have the 1966 Indy 500. Now, my producer, Bobby, he did let me know that we've already chosen 3 drivers from the 1966 Indy 500. Year. However, we did not choose this driver. So, the 1966 Indy 500 was obviously won by Graham Hill. Very, very cool. Very, very legendary name in the motorsport landscape. But we are going with the 22nd place finisher, Johnny Boyd. So Johnny Boyd is a name that I did not know. But boy, does he have a lot of history. So Johnny Boyd was a Fresno, California man. And he was in Indy 500s from basically 1955 to 1966. So a lot of years. Boyd qualified for the Indy 500 for the first time in 1955, but finished 29th after being involved in an accident that killed Bill Vukovich. Now, a lot of people know Bill Vukovich. That's a legendary name at the Speedway. That's kind of a crazy stat. I didn't know that. In a dozen starts, his best race was in 1958 when he led 18 laps and finished third. In total, he finished in the top 10 at the 500 5 times. Hey, solid from old Johnny Boyd. So that's really cool. He was born in 1926, died in 2003, age 77, so R.I.P. Johnny Boyd. But a lot of Indy 500s. So we happened to pick his very last one. But let's count how many. 1, 2.
While you're
3,
counting, I was
4.
just wanting to think, man. Like, I mean, this could be the Johnny they wrote that one song, that "Go Johnny Go Go" about.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
12 Indy 500s to Johnny's credit. So
this is Johnny
pretty cool.
Be Good, dude.
Old Johnny Boyd. So shout out Stingray for giving us the year to pick, and we appreciate you folks listening. Please leave us a like, a review, a rating, or whatever it is on any platform you listen to. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. At 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, we're going to give away something sweet. So we're just trying to build all the channels, trying to build all the social platforms, make sure everyone's locked in. We got a great year in front of us. Fox is behind us. It's very, very cold in Indianapolis currently, but we are excited about what's ahead.
I wanted to say one thing real quick, too, at the end of this. I just wanted to let all the listeners know, we're in January. Racing season starts soon. If there's one thing that you could do for me and Connor, go out there today and tell at least one person about this podcast. Maybe that doesn't watch racing or that does watch racing and doesn't listen to shows. Tell at least one person about this show and tell at least one person to check out IndyCar. Whether it's at the workplace, the family, the environment, down at the Walmart, the Target, who cares?
The bowling alley. Yeah.
Yes. Bowling alley, anywhere. Yeah. Just tell one person. That's all it takes. And it helps so much. So I just wanted to put that out there.
One person at a time, folks. We appreciate it. And next week we will be back. I think we're back to an episode a week here. I think we're locked in. We're going to have things to talk about after this week, I'm sure. Lots of news. We're going to have testing coming up in almost 2 or 3 weeks' time, very, very soon. So lots of things to discuss. Still, one driver out there. The Dale Coyne Racing Team has a driver to sign, so we're going to wait for that announcement at some point. Hopefully we see it sooner rather than later. But with that, we appreciate you, and thank you for listening to Speed Street. We'll see you next week. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.